Hey folks, it's Carrie from Pretty Neat. Thanks for joining me. If you're new here to my channel, welcome. I share videos here every week about organizing and decluttering your home and just making your space the best it can be. So I hope you'll hit the subscribe button and stick around. Today I want to talk about a topic that I get asked about often as a professional organizer. People often reach out to me for help because they have a really big job and they are feeling overwhelmed. There are a lot of people, and you might be one of them, who has a really large storage area. It might be a basement or a garage or an attic, or maybe it's a spare bedroom that has kind of become the storage room. And these spaces often accumulate stuff over many, many years. You get to a point where the idea of cleaning that space out is just overwhelming because it's been put off for so long. And this is a point where I often have people reach out to me for assistance because they just don't know where to start. They are feeling paralyzed by the amount of work that's going to be involved in cleaning that space out, and they just need someone to give them a hand. And so I hope that this video can serve that purpose for you in case you find yourself in a similar situation. First of all, don't beat yourself up if this sounds familiar. This is a very common issue for people who have larger homes that have these bigger storage spaces. I often say that we just fill whatever space we have. So if you have a garage or a basement or an attic, it's likely that you are just putting stuff there and not regularly cleaning it out, basically because you don't have to. A big storage space in your home is basically a place to put off decision making. If you have an item and you're not sure if you need it, if you want to keep it, if it's serving any purpose in your life, it's very easy to shove that thing in the basement or in the attic and then basically just forget about it. Again, this is kind of a function of the types of homes many people live in, and don't feel bad if you have put off cleaning out that space for a long period of time. You are not alone. Most people do this. Now, if you have one of these bigger spaces that you need to clean out and you're feeling overwhelmed, I think that an important first step is to figure out why you want to do this. You need to find some internal motivation because a bigger project like this is going to take some time, and you need to have some reason in mind that is going to help sustain you and keep you coming back to that space over and over again. So when I say you need to find your motivation, I'll give you an example. I worked with someone recently who brought me down to her basement. We took a look and it was indeed full of stuff. And she said that she and her husband planned on finishing the basement and creating more living space. So I encouraged her to really lean into that plan and to use that as her motivation. For you, it might be that you have some alternative plan for that space. Maybe it's a spare bedroom and you want to make a craft room, or you want to make a space where you can work out. Maybe it's a place in your home that is going to be used as a playroom for your grandkids when they come over. Whatever it is that you are envisioning, I say really try to focus on that. I would even recommend writing down your reason on an index card or on a piece of poster board and tacking that piece of paper up in the room. Another idea might be to print some inspirational photos out from the internet, photos of spaces that are going to serve as your inspiration once you can redo that room, and maybe hang those up. Anything that reminds you of why you're doing it, so that when you're in that space and you start feeling tired and sick of doing the work of decluttering, you can remind yourself, oh yeah, I'm doing it because of that. I have a goal in mind, and that will help you to keep going. Another tip I have, if you have a really big area that you need to clean out, is to give yourself a time frame. Give yourself a goal and make it very reasonable. This isn't about setting yourself up for failure, but it's about giving yourself some type of boundary, because if you've been in your home for years and this space has been accumulating stuff for years, you haven't really had a boundary on that for yourself. So I think setting a time frame, maybe in the next 3 months, I'm going to get the basement cleaned out so that I can create my home gym down there. By setting a time frame for this project to be completed, that also allows you to break it down into smaller time periods where you're going to be actually doing the work. So what I don't recommend is to say to yourself, oh, I'm going to spend this whole weekend cleaning out the basement and then I'll be done. First of all, this is hard work. It's hard physically, and it can be very hard emotionally as well. And so just trying to do this as a marathon is probably not the best way. And when I work with people, we work in sessions of 2 to 3 hours. I find that that is really a maximum amount of time for most people in terms of how long they can stay focused and engaged with the process. And for you, especially when you're starting this, your time frame might be much less. You might only be able to handle an hour or maybe a half hour at a time working on this stuff. So set regular appointments with yourself to work on this space. And I recommend actually putting these in your calendar, whatever type of calendar that you use, and maybe creating like a regular appointment for it. So you might say, oh, I can carve out a couple hours on Saturday mornings to work on cleaning out the basement. Put that block of time in your calendar and really try to honor that appointment the way you would honor any other appointment. You know, if you had plans to meet up with a friend, you would work around that. You would keep that time sacred. If you had an appointment to get your teeth cleaned or to go to the doctor, you would most likely keep that appointment. Try to treat this appointment of decluttering the way you treat any other appointments in your life. So once you have figured out why you're doing this, you've found some motivation to do it, you have a time frame in mind, kind of an end date that you're shooting for, and you've set regular appointments with yourself to do this work, the time is now to just jump in. People often ask me where to start when they're doing a big project like this, and I say it really doesn't matter where you start. The important thing is that you actually get started. So you might pick a spot in the space that's really bad, and you know that if you make a little headway there, you're going to feel really accomplished. Or you might start with some really easy things. What I find with the process of decluttering and sorting through our stuff, we get better at it with time. We kind of develop the skill, and it gets easier the more you do it. So I would say don't start with the most sentimental items, but start with things that you know are going to be relatively easy for you to sort through and to part with some of them. When you start doing this, you're going to want to create some areas in the space to sort your things into. So you'll want a place to put things that you're keeping, a place that you're going to put things that you can donate, a place for things that you're going to be trashing. And if you think that you might want to sell some of the things that you're getting rid of, you might make a pile for that as well. And then really just taking items one by one and sorting them into these categories. There's unfortunately no magic formula to make this easier or to take a shortcut. You basically just have to take each piece one by one and put it in a category. Now, sometimes you come across those things that are really hard to decide, and you end up getting stuck, or you decide, oh, I'll set that aside for now and then I'll figure out later what I'm going to do with it. I recommend, instead of doing that, putting those things that you're really confused about in the keep pile for now, And then I recommend revisiting that keep pile and asking yourself some questions. Sometimes it's hard the first time we look at a thing to decide what to do with it, but after we revisit it again, we're like, no, I really don't need that. I do have another video here on my channel about questions to ask yourself about your stuff and some questions that can help prompt you to decide what is important to keep and what you can part with. I'll be sure to link that other video down below. So as you get started in this process, you can maybe check that out and get some ideas for things you can ask yourself about those items that are a little more difficult to make the decision about. So as you work through this large space that you're clearing out and organizing, don't be too hard on yourself. Give yourself some grace and recognize that this is hard to do. We get very emotionally attached to our things, and for some people more than others, it's really challenging. And so give yourself breaks. Don't beat yourself up if it's taking a lot of time or if you're struggling. Sometimes it's helpful to get another person to assist you in this process. If you have a friend or a family member who is kind of good at this, who isn't a very sentimental person, that's usually a good person to have helping you out. Also, professional organizers like myself are out there and do exist. If you are in the central New York area and you're struggling to clean out a larger space, I would love to help you. All my contact info is down below. But wherever you're living, there are people like me who do this for a living, and we can kind of help you through the process. I have found that oftentimes just having another person who is not so attached to your things in the room, just that helps you see things a little more objectively. And you can just say to them, like, should I keep this or not? And they can reassure you, like, I don't think you're going to need that. Sometimes that's all the push that you need to be able to part with some of those things. I hope that these tips about cleaning out a large area in your home were helpful. If you do have questions about this, feel free to leave them down in the comments below. If you liked this video, please hit the like button. It helps my channel out a lot. And don't forget to subscribe. I share videos here every week about organizing and decluttering your home and just making your space the best it can be. Talk to you soon.